I feel like we should probably do the Vince stuff first. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, we could probably go for 90 minutes on Vince alone, but
Oh yeah.
we'll try and somehow keep this kind of concise. Now, a lot of this does bleed over
Yeah.
into February, technically, but I think it's worth kind of just getting into the weeds of this now. It's basically Vince McMahon, 23rd of January. He's up there, New York Stock Exchange, having a kind of a little song and dance with TKO about the announcement of their uh, the whole thing with Netflix and signing. What was the was it I don't remember the exact numbers.
I forget as well, but I think it was like 5 billion.
5 billion, yeah, 5 billion deal for Netflix.
Yes.
With Raw going to Netflix in the US and most of their other live programming, as those contracts will end, those deals end, will end up on Netflix around the world. Which, when you kind of look into the weeds of it, there are things about it that are obviously a success. There are things about it that you might think that the deal isn't as attractive as you first think. That's a whole nother conversation that we can get to. Um, but then a couple of days later, it came out. What was it? Yeah, where
Wall
was it?
Street
I think it was the
Journal, I
26th,
think.
January 26th. Wait, 2025. I don't remember the exact date exactly, but yeah, the Wall Street Journal. Um, it came out that a lawsuit from a former WWE employee, Janelle Grant, who accused McMahon of sex trafficking and battery. While the claims of McMahon's hush money payments and accusations of misconduct were previously known, this like
No,
67-page report, I
it
think,
was something like that.
went
Yeah,
into
we didn't know the details, and
yeah,
the
went
details are
into the
very
very
graphic.
specifics. Yes.
Yeah.
Which maybe Triple H has read by now. Who knows?
Yeah.
We still have no
Hopefully.
confirmation. Um, McMahon kind of, doubled down, said that all of the information in there was false, and then he refuted it. Um, Within that lawsuit, because the lawsuit isn't just against Vince McMahon, it's also against John Laurinaitis and the company of WWE as a whole, due to unnamed executives and what they did or didn't know, and the kind of speculation that's gone into that as well. We now have John Laurinaitis trying to save his own backside by, throwing
Yeah,
Vince and
he's
anyone
throwing Vince under
else.
the bus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which the one thing of that, because and I haven't seen anyone try to play the whole like, "Oh, I guess people are just now guilty before proven innocent" card. I think that it really should be pretty clear that you know significant portions of this lawsuit and the details within that lawsuit are true. Um,
I mean, there's
and
text messages.
yeah, yeah. So not too long after that, unsurprisingly, TKO went, well, this isn't good. We should probably shit can Vince McMahon. And he is, I mean, as far removed from WWE as he has ever been. And because of, the kind of like the power struggle that is within that company, I think it's fair to say he's not coming back. But also, hey, you can never say never with Vince.
I cannot see a scenario where he would be brought back. But then again, you cannot completely dismiss it because of everything that's happened in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, when he retired, quote unquote, you thought, well, that would be it. But then he forced himself back in, and then everybody acted like, oh, well, he was always going to come back. Things like that. So it's, yeah, I mean, the allegations here are terrible, very graphic in detail, very gross. It's enough to where you would think that they would never let him back in, but you never know because the world is very strange. It's very weird, especially this world, and you just can't dismiss the idea that he'd be brought back.
And also something that I overlooked there, a significant reason, and maybe the whole reason for Vince's removal, was Slim Jim. Before, Slim Jim, one of the prominent sponsors of the Royal Rumble, said they were. I'm trying to remember their exact phrasing. They weren't saying that they were completely pulling out of their
Like
agreement, suspending their arrangement with the WWE, which is all right, whatever. And so, as with anything, unfortunately, when it comes to the kind of corporate business side of anything, money talks. And
Yeah.
if none of the corporate sponsors had decided they were going to start pulling out of arrangements, maybe we wouldn't be in the position we are right now. It would have been very interesting if this lawsuit had come out a week or two prior, considering everything with the Netflix deal and what that could have looked
Yeah.
like. But here we are. Here we are at this point in time. Um, it's been interesting in that it's been fairly quiet over the last like week or so. I feel like in some ways this might be the kind of calm before the storm, because I think the significant thing with this, and anytime it comes to victims of sexual harassment, sexual abuse, anything in that area, a large part of what this is about empowering other people who are, in this very unfortunate circle that are all tied to this abuser. And so the hope, and from what, like, I've listened to certain outlets and whatnot, is that Janelle Grant has been getting phone calls. Her lawyer has been getting phone calls from other people that have been a victim, whether from Vince directly or within the kind of systematic issues that has been WWE/WWF for the past 30, 40 years. Um, and we've got people like Ashley Massaro's former lawyer coming out and kind of bringing up the issues around that, and the fact that the company actually was aware of allegations that were made, that she had made. And yeah, it really feels like we whatever was underneath the woodwork, we have now just ripped that open, and I imagine the next couple of months is going to be a real stormy ride. um and I would imagine, you know the person who's probably sweating more than anyone else at the moment, because here's the thing with Vince. Unfortunately, he has the right amount of money and is the right amount of age that he can ride this out till, the Grim Reaper comes calling for him.
Yeah.
Um, I think the person more than anyone else that's going to be sweating the most over the next couple of months is Triple H. Uh, but
Yeah.
hey,
Because
where are you
yeah.
at? What do you think of this? Like, how has this been for you in terms of the Wrestling Observer, obviously, and like, like just this is the biggest story that could come around, and just what's it been
Yeah.
like for you for the last couple of weeks?
Well, it kind of feels like deja vu in a way because we all kind of experienced this in 2022 when Vince McMahon first retired. We just didn't know the details of what was in those NDAs. And now we have at least details on one of those NDAs, and one of those people are speaking out. And um, it's graphic, it's gross, it's enough to where you think, well, shouldn't she try and get him arrested for rape? Because that's basically what happened in what's be detailed in these reports. And I don't know how the laws and all that are going to work out, but it's enough to where, I mean, he should be in jail for what he did. I mean, that's plainly and clearly evident based on everything that's been said in this lawsuit. Um, the texts alone are graphic and should warrant him being gone from TKO. Um, I think this is just the beginning of a story. Like, it starts with Vince McMahon and what he did, and not only is it going to go across all of these employees who kind of like created this culture of, well, nobody's going to question Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon thinks he's Teflon. We should look the other way while he does these things. That's probably the mentality of a lot of people. And for Triple H to go into that press conference and say, "Well, we had no idea. We're just finding out about this." I don't buy that. John Laurinaitis himself has uh, lent credence to the fact that all these allegations might be true, because he's throwing Vince McMahon under the bus. And just yesterday or the other day, his attorney is going, well, everybody in WWE knew about the Ashton Massaro allegations. And so you have at least a 20-year history of these kind of things happening to women in WWE, and they are looking the other way. And I feel like this is just the start of a long story evolving WWE's culture of looking the other way when it comes to how women are treated in that promotion. Both employees and wrestlers and managers and all the like. It seems like it's a problem to the very top of the company. And yes, you could get rid of Vince McMahon, but there's still so many other people there who might have done something or at least knew of something happening and they look the other way. There seems to be a clear cut history to all that. So obviously, it needs to be investigated. There needs to be a top to bottom investigation of the kind of culture that WWE has been fostering there for so long. And there's just going to be more stories coming out. Like WWE is hoping that this all goes under the rug, but there's a federal investigation on Vince McMahon. And that could lead to him being arrested and charged with who knows what, because they raided his home, I think, last year, and they took his his cell phones, and they took his uh, all his personal information. So obviously, there's an investigation there, and there's more women who haven't come forward and talked about their experiences. And like, this is just one story, and I feel like there's going to be more stories coming out that may be even worse than this. Who knows? So yeah, it's the start of a story that I think is going to evolve into a bigger story as time goes on. There might be jail time involved. There might be other people named. It's on one side, going to be a very successful year for WWE because of WrestleMania and their business is incredible right now. But it's also going to be a pretty crappy year for them because they are going to have to go through a lot. And a lot of people are going to be named probably. Either they did something or they looked the other way while it was happening. And it's going to be very interesting to see what develops for the next year. I don't think this is the end of the story. Like maybe right now, like you said, this is the calm before the storm. But I don't think this is the end of the story at all. I think we're just getting to the start of stuff coming out in this company and what's been going on, dating back to what seems like. I mean, there are allegations about Vince McMahon dating back to the '80s with Rita Chatterton. So there's always going to be stories. There's always going to be allegations. There's going to be more stuff that's going to come out, and the culture that's been around this company for so long, it's going to be made more clear.
And I think as well, something to really consider with all of this, so many times when a lawsuit like this gets filed, a lot of times, for whatever reason, it ends up getting settled out of court. And it's a case of like, let's throw as much money as we need to at this thing to make it go away. And certainly from the tone of Grant's lawyer, it very much does seem to be a case of this isn't a thing about like getting as much money out of this as possible. It does very much feel like there is a company-wide level of just failure to protect employees and independent contractors and whatnot. And it definitely seems like they are all in full-throated to expose this as much as possible. And so obviously, the thing is like, if it gets to the point of discovery, that's when shit gets real interesting.
Oh yeah.
And I would like it to get to that point, if for no other reason than to really get to the weeds of not just Vince, because there are people who are more than happy to put this down to all right, well, Vince is the issue here. He's gone. We can all now kind of go back to our merry lives. And it's like, that's clearly like, you don't have to read the whole report. There are plenty of places out there that have done a summarization of what is in there, because it's I haven't read all of it, but the few bits that I did go through, it doesn't make for pleasant reading, funnily enough.
I have read the entire report,
Boy.
lawsuit, whatever, and it definitely details a story of a man who took a woman who was very vulnerable. She had just lost her job, and she was looking for work, and he took her in and immediately began giving her attention. And it was a story of him displaying power the minute that she thought, well, maybe I don't want to do this. He very much detailed very many places where he said, I have powerful lawyers that make things go away. Things like that. He demonstrated power against her in many situations where she didn't want to do something, and he demonstrated his power constantly. And um, it's a very it sounds so much like Vince McMahon, and where he very much likes to display his power over other people. And we've seen this kind of on TV, where the heel Mr. McMahon made Trish Stratus bark like a dog, where the heel Vince McMahon made people kiss his butt, his full butt on displaying on TV. We've seen him flaunt this kind of power, well, I'm untouchable, on TV, and as it turns out, he's doing the same thing off TV. The Vince McMahon character on TV seems so much like the real Vince McMahon. Actually, maybe maybe even worse than the Vince McMahon character we see on TV. No, actually, it is, based on everything we've learned over the last few weeks. It's someone who very clearly thinks he's untouchable, and he gets to treat people like this. And it's becoming clear now that no, you're not untouchable. At least this is what people are trying to do. I mean, a few years ago, he got fired. Well, he wasn't fired, but he resigned because these NDAs came out. Now we thought, well, Vince McMahon finally got what was coming to him. And then, no, he came back to power. And this time, once again, we're thinking, well, maybe this time he's, whatever. But yeah, it's very much a power play that he's doing. He thinks he's untouchable, and that's why he gets to do this to other people, because he had a big amount of lawyers that could make things go away, and now he doesn't have that. And now stuff is coming out, and maybe it's he's finally getting what's coming to him.
And I also think that there will be a lot of fans of WWE who won't really have much investment or attachment to this, because so much of it is behind the scenes and involves people that weren't in front of the camera. And whether it be a case of discovery, or whether it be a case of former or current performers who have been in whatever the situation may be that made them feel uncomfortable with Vince or whoever else, those people exist. Using Ashley Mazzaro as the first example, I would be fairly confident that there's more than just her. And I think that as this snowball keeps rolling, and hopefully as people feel more emboldened to come out and share their stories, the moment where you have like former or current talent, I'd say probably more likely former talent, talk about their experiences, that even to the most casual, flippant WWE fan who doesn't pay attention to kind of online media and publications, that kind of stuff, really just watches the product, and that's it. Even they can't escape this, they can't avoid this. And that's good. Like everyone from the fucking top to the bottom should be made to know about what has happened. And everyone that was involved that has been affected or impacted should have that platform now to share their experiences without fear of persecution or whatever the case may be. So, I'm sure this is something that's going to come up over the next couple of months. The way that the track record of the way things have been, not just with WWE but AEW, prior to the World's End pay-per-view, I can see, 2 days before WrestleMania, shit's gonna go crazy, and we're gonna get, whatever new reports and whatnot. So, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, this is a situation where, Vince McMahon, even at the end, was using terms like WWE superstars and WWE universe. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, for so long, he's created this own little universe where he can't be touched and he's untouchable. And, this is the real world. This is the WWE where everything's happy and fine and everything's going great. And uh, we use terms like superstar and universe and phrases that you never hear in real life conversation. But if you watch WWE TV, it's all over the place where people are talking like aliens about things that you would never hear a normal person talk about. And it's like, for once, the WWE universe is touching into reality, and Vince McMahon is getting a cold dose of reality that no, he's not untouchable. That things are going to come out over the next few months that could be just as graphic as what was in that lawsuit, and I it's not going to look good. It's just going to be really bad. It's going to be a really bad situation for Vince. It's going to be a really bad situation for the WWE, and we could see a lot of heads roll by the end of the year based on what else comes out.